Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 316 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on July 28th, 2026. How are all you wonderful folks doing today? I hope you're well. I hope you're staying cool and enjoying shooting in the outdoors. It's always great. We have a very packed episode today, and it's pretty exciting, I think. There's a lot to cover. All right, so first up, we're going to be hitting the technical deep dive for last week's doubleheader report, in which we examined the performance of the T&K Vorix 30 Ti. Yeah, we examined that in multiple combustion regimes, both supersonic 308 and subsonic 300 blackout. That's quite the variation, and there were definitely some surprising results from that silencer, so we're going to hit that in a comprehensive technical discussion with multiple subtopics per typical. And then next up, we're going to hit a short intro topic to today's report, a highly requested silencer, the Otter Creek Labs Infinity 556K on the Mark 18. This is actually a triple header today because we did testing with all three end caps. And really, we could actually call it a quadruple header because there is a built-in advanced research supplement in today's report exclusively for PEW Science members, taking a look at tone of this silencer and how the different end cap configurations compare. Remember, we always consider tone in our analysis because the suppression rating inherently has tone baked in. It's in the math. You know, we couldn't remove it even if we wanted to. It's just that the difference is this time we're showing you how. We're showing you how tone works. Okay? This should really help those new to PEW Science and new to the suppression rating understand these physics and why you hear what you hear. And I also think it's going to help people understand why Otter Creek Labs chose to distribute the Infinity 556K with the partially vented end cap by default. Weird. It's almost as if the data's real. All right, let's get on with the show. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're new to the podcast, man, you came to the right place for silencers, tell you what. We're glad to have you. Coffee's in the back. There are timestamps in the episode description, no matter where you are listening, for you to skip to wherever you would like. If you want to hang around with me a little bit longer, I'm going to read some ads for the companies that make this podcast possible every week. Due to the length of the podcast today, I'm going to truncate this. I'm going to go as fast as I can through it while still respecting the companies because they're important. Because without these companies, I wouldn't be doing this every week. It's a lot of work. Okay. The first one is Legion Athletics because nothing you do is worth doing without consistency, and Legion Athletics can help. They have all the supplements you need mostly. All right. If you're a drug-tested athlete, they respect that. You're not going to fail a drug test with their supplements. Okay. Code word PEW Science. You save money on the shopping cart you use for your first order. And if you keep using the code PEW Science every time you buy from Legion, you will get cash back. It's awesome. Okay. Get strong. It's really important. The next company that brings this podcast to you every week is Silencer Shop. That's right. Largest distributor of silencers on earth right here in the good old United States. Use their kiosk. Do your fingerprints and photos electronically, cut down on errors, simplify your silencer purchasing process, get a money back guarantee. No transfer fees, no paperwork errors, just you and the silencer with no drama. Truly is silencer ownership simplified. Also, Top Gun Range Houston, they're a silencer shop dealer out of, you guessed it, Houston, Texas. Largest firearm rental fleet in the entire state of Texas. You can rent all the stuff there if you're on a business trip. Go shoot machine guns. Go shoot suppressed weapons. Say hi to Kyle and his crew. They have an AI tool to help their customers based on PEW Science research. It's incredible. Check them out at Top Gun Range. And also, they like memes, so send them those on Instagram. Also, the podcast is brought to you by Capital Armory, very large NFA dealer, again, in Texas. They're true NFA enthusiasts. They really understand silencer performance. They have their entire entire operations, even before they were Capital Armory. These people bleed NFA. I'm telling you that they're sick for it, just like you. The really cool thing is if you work nights and you just can't get to a dealer, and look, I've been there, believe me. I've been deployed for long periods of time in the field, not able to go to any dealers during the day, working nights. Capital Armory can help you with that, because if you live in one of the 42 states where silencers are legal, they can ship them right to your door. It's crazy. Okay, so go check out Capital Armory. Also, and finally, I think the most important sponsor of the podcast, because without this sponsor, the podcast literally wouldn't happen, and that's the PEW Science Laboratory. I'm the technical director of the lab. In the interest of public education, we continue to sponsor this podcast and run a public research effort to push the silencer industry forward one test at a time. You can visit our website at pewscience.com. The suppression rating, it simplifies the science. It's the most comprehensive out there. There's 8 sections to the silencer sound standard. It's the most in-depth and accurate silencer data analysis in the entire world. We'll never tell you what silencers to buy. We're not affiliated with any manufacturer or any dealer. We don't make them. We don't design them. We don't sell them. We won't tell you what to buy. All we do is tell you how they perform. Okay? That's PEW Science. And you can support this. You can support the podcast. You can support our lab. You can support everything you see on the website and get more information and get more data, like in today's report, by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. It's really cheap, less than a cup of coffee per month, tax deductible, and you will support the greatest silencer research ever in the history of the planet, frankly. And if you don't have any money, that's okay. Throw us a bone every once in a while with a donation. And if you can't do that, that's truly okay. Don't give any money to anyone ever. All you have to do is listen, spread the word, and let folks know that silencers and guns are awesome, and we can normalize the use of suppressed small arms. And then eventually, when you have enough money to give us $5, maybe you do that. Or you know what? Never do. That's okay too. We have 2 topics for you today. Like I said, the first topic, it's going to be a multifaceted, long topic on the T&K Vorix 30 Ti. It's a bolt gun silencer, 308 and 300 blackout, unique silencer, high performance. We'll go through that. And then the next one will be the Otter Creek Labs Infinity 556K. All right. Okay. So let's move into topic 1 at a time of 7 minutes and 22 seconds. Okay. So topic 1, this is going to be Sound Signature Review 6232, the T&K Vorix 30 Ti on 308 and 300 blackout bolt action rifles. There's a multi-cartridge test program. This silencer is very lightweight. It's relatively compact for a bolt action rifle silencer. We wanted to fully characterize its behavior. That's what T&K wanted us to do. There's going to be a technical deep dive of the report, and we're going to have subtopics. Again, this report was published last week, so you can go read it if you haven't. Subtopics Alpha through Foxtrot. We're going to go through an intro and a recap about this hunting silencer. We're going to go through the general overview of the Vorix 30. We're going to go through the silencer design and the functional physics of the silencer. Then in subtopic Delta, we're going to go through hazard map brief 8.1.29, look at the hazard spatially. Then in Echo, we're going to go through its silencer performance with both cartridges, supersonic 308 full rifle and subsonic 300 blackout, basically a pistol cartridge. And then in subtopic Foxtrot, we're going to look at performance comparisons, and we give you my overall thoughts on the silencer that are based on objective data. Okay? So we'll move into the intro for the silencer at a time of 8 minutes and 52 seconds. All right, one moment, please. Okay, so intro, Vorix 30. So, is this a hunting silencer? Why are we looking at that? I mean, look, I know it's July, but hunting season is literally just around the corner. And I know this because the deer that we manage at our ranch are growing some nice antlers right now. They're about to leave Dr. Seuss mode. I call white-tailed deer in velvet Dr. Seuss mode. It's something me and my wife say, because the antlers look so funny at first when they're not fully grown, and they're also in velvet, so they're more kind of fat looking. It looks like a Dr. Seuss character to me. So anyway, I noticed that they're almost out of Dr. Seuss mode, and so it's going to be September before you know it, basically, which basically means it's a November if you really think about it. So why aren't you out hunting right now? No, I'm kidding, but a lot of us hunt. Okay, not all of us do, and it's okay if you don't hunt. Maybe you're just using firearms for people, and that's okay. And you know what? Some of you might hunt people. You know, you might be, in the military or something. You might be hunting people, and that's okay. But, a lot of us, we use the suppressed small arms for, self-defense, and maybe you use it for self-offense, and maybe sometimes you use it for hunting. Maybe you're killing four-legged things, Anyway, regardless, these are weapons, right? So, as we spoke about on the intro episode for the silencer, size and weight do matter for hunters, right? And that's one of the reasons this Vorix 30 Ti is the way it is. And it's not too big. It's pretty light. It's definitely performing in a way that makes it good enough for a lot of rifle hunters to use, you would think. And I hadn't even heard about T&K hunting before we did this project. And therefore, I had also not heard of T&K suppressors, of course, because that's their silencer line. So if I hadn't heard of T&K hunting, why would I hear of T&K suppressors? Right? Yes. Anyway, so we're all learning together. They're new to us. They're a new lab client. Pretty cool. I mean, we've been obviously working together for a while. You wouldn't be seeing this. And so, yeah, we're going to see what the future holds with these silencers. But so far, I'd say the debut performance from this silencer is strong. Now, is it world beater stuff? Well, no. But for the intended use case, considering the design envelope, I think it's objectively strong performance, very competitive, especially given the size. So anyway, we're going to get into it, okay? So we're going to subtopic Bravo, which is just a general overview of the Vorix 30 Ti at a time of 11 minutes and 55 seconds. Excuse me. Okay, so where is this thing? I have it here in front of me. Yep, good silencer. It's easy to grip. It's got that texture. This is what we would call a compact to mid-size 30 caliber rifle silencer. It's an interesting size class because it's hub compatible, and without a mount, it's right under 7.5 inches long. And that's basically a 7.5 inches long is basically big 5.56 silencer territory, right? Now for 30 caliber silencers, full size is typically 9 inches. So I would call this mid-size probably in that respect because it's not super small. But then when you look at the diameter, it's a little less than 1.5 inches. So in 2026, that's kind of a small diameter. We actually simply don't see many high-performing 30 caliber silencers with a 1.5 inch outer diameter being released nowadays. It is the exception really now. Sure, I mean there are some, but not a lot in the high performance category. So you're at a volumetric expansion disadvantage when you decrease your diameter, as volume is related to the square of the diameter, of course. So I did find the size of this silencer interesting. Besides maneuverability, another benefit of having a smaller diameter, a smaller silencer in all dimensions would be weight reduction, right? Because there's physically less material there. So because this is 3D printed titanium, you have a tubeless construction, which would save weight on its own, even if it were machined. And its overall dimensions drop the total weight to 10.2 ounces without a mount. So that's what you're working with here. A little under 7.5 inches and around 10 ounces, basically naked. Add the mount and you get a little more length and you get 1 ounce more weight. So all in all, it has a hunting silencer pretty much written all over it, right? I mean, that is as long as it can perform. And we're going to talk about performance here shortly, of course. So starting at the rear of the silencer, like the proximal end, where it mounts to your gun, the silencer is hub compatible. So when you look inside the first expansion chamber or the blast chamber, you're going to see what many experienced silencer folks know to be a conventional straight cone baffle structure. This can be deceptively simple, And it can sometimes fool folks if they're not looking at the silencer holistically. It really can. You might think, oh, this is just a simple silencer. Well, we'll talk about that more in the next subtopic. The outside of the silencer has a typical finish with some spiral styling cues, that grip surface I was talking about earlier. It's, because they're in a spiral, it's probably a play on the root of the word Vorix, maybe close to vortex or vortices, some kind of spinning thing, I would guess. Maybe it's a spinning bullet, spinning gas, whatever. I get it. It looks fine. The end of the silencer, like the distal end where the bullet comes out, it has an integral end cap. Again, it's 3D printed, so this whole thing's monolithic. There's some interesting external structures there on the end, somewhat functional, I would guess, but also look cool if you're into that. Overall, no frills here, really. Very utilitarian by modern silencer standards, and it's designed for bolt guns. Yeah, so as we'll talk about in a moment, this is not a high flow rate semi-auto silencer. This is a relatively high back pressure bolt gun silencer, and for its current role, that is intended. It's literally the design intent, okay? Which is important to know. Back pressure is not always bad. Sometimes it is good. Nothing's really bad or good when it comes to silencers. It's just a spectrum of what you need, okay? So let's get more technical now to the fun stuff, I think, at a time of 16 minutes and 18 seconds. Okay, subtopic Charlie, Vorix 30 Ti silencer design and functional physics. Okay, so let me go back really quickly to the blast chamber and the first reflector design that I mentioned a second ago in the previous subtopic. So, straight cone. When you look inside the silencer, that's right. It's a symmetrical straight cone in the blast baffle there, and it's one of the important parts, I think. Now, this is a bolt gun silencer intended not to impact the precision of your weapon, or at least impact it minimally, right? One tried and true trait of precision silencers is a symmetrical blast baffle. Does a blast baffle have to be symmetrical for this? No, not necessarily. Can it help? And can it be a safe bet in this part of the design? Yes, absolutely. Now, this is a conventional design silencer, but it's not necessarily primitive. There are features that they've implemented to get the performance that you see in the report, okay? Remember, on the last episode, on our deep dive of the Layer X Strake 9 subgun silencer, remember that when we spoke about load clearing off of the first reflector in an effort to reduce adverse internal impulse accumulation near the barrel muzzle to reduce early time back pressure? Remember that? Sure you do. You listen to every podcast intently and you take notes and then you review the notes afterwards. I know you do. No, just kidding. If you don't remember that technical talk last episode because you don't care about the Layer X Strike 9, that's okay. But just know when you skip podcasts, you might be skipping information about a silencer you don't care about, but you're also skipping blast physics lessons. So, hey, I'm not your dad. I'm not going to make you eat your vegetables and listen to every lecture because these are essentially lectures. And so if you missed that, well, go back and listen. I'm not going to rehash it here. My point is there's a method to the madness in a lot of silencer vent arrays, okay, especially early in the silencer. In the case of the Strake 9 from Layer X that we talked about last week, it was to reduce system back pressure, okay? In the case of the Vorix 30 Ti, there is a different porting, and it's there for a different reason, okay? In the Vorix, you will see porting around the baffle throat, but it's just even holes. It's not even completely circumferential at the edge, okay? There are also some other holes further up the baffle neck. These holes, or you can call them ports if you like, are not to reduce back pressure in the traditional sense. These are stagnation relief holes. Sure, they do reduce impulse, and you could say that they reduce some back pressure, but specifically, they're reducing stagnation pressure induced impulse such that the silencer doesn't get overwhelmed early, and so the silencer can still do its job. Okay, this is because this is not an annularly vented silencer. This silencer is not venting off axis. This is a traditional baffle design, and the porting of the baffle array is an optimization step to relieve stagnation through the stack so the silencer can work with high pressure and long duration combustion just as well as it can work with short duration, low pressure combustion. Okay, this is a very important distinction. It's a nuance that some people don't get. This is part of the reason, along with the optimized geometry of the further baffles in the stack, why you see such high 308 performance with it despite its low volume, as well as relatively high 300 blackout subsonic performance with it. You're shuttling gas through the silencer very efficiently in that you're occupying its entire volume very efficiently, which is the goal of a silencer, okay? I would venture to guess, and it's a guess because I don't know, but I would guess that there aren't a lot of dead zones in this silencer. There probably aren't a lot of areas in this silencer that go to waste. Another way to say that is that the silencer has high efficiency. Okay, 1 second. Remember the Strategic Sciences multifunction muzzle device and why we said it was efficient and why everyone's like, oh my gosh, it gets so hot so fast. Why do you think it gets so hot so fast? Why would that be? Okay, think about it. All right. When you get past the blast baffle in the silencer in the Vorix, the baffle changes shape. The baffles change shape. Here you still have cone baffles once again, but there's a sizable mill cut notch, and I'm saying that because look, it's printed, so it's not really a cut, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, just stick with me. There's a mill cut in each baffle, and they do continue porting at least for a bit. If you look, just get a borescope. I've done it. There is really nothing exotic here in the silencer. The name of the game here is additive manufacturing, rapid prototyping, building enough variants with enough porting tweaks and geometric tweaks, shooting the silencers, seeing what happens, and tweaking the design. Okay, a lot of silencer design and R&D is empirical, which is very valuable. Remember, all models are wrong. Some models are less wrong than others, and some models are certainly useful. Okay, look at section 8 of the standard. You see I've written that and codified it. All engineers and scientists agree. If you want a good answer, sometimes testing is the fastest and cheapest way to get it. Okay, that is literally why we test. That's why I've spent 20 years testing. Okay, 20 years of blast testing is what you get with PEW Science. Okay, it's literally my job and my life's work. It's all I know. Okay, I think the Vorix 30 is an example of a design envelope that works in a smaller diameter as long as you have the length. Okay, the brute force approach to this design and relieving stagnation without worrying about weapon back pressure, it lets you get away with what they got away with. Okay, there's a reason why this doesn't always work. Okay, they got away with this because of the constraints they put on their design. Okay, I think if the goal here was bolt gun suppression in a lightweight envelope, they hit their goal. Okay, now the question is, did you relieve stagnation too much, and are you flowing too fast for subsonic use? And I think we've already answered that question, obviously. I think the answer is no. I don't think that. I don't think they're flowing too fast for subsonic use. I think your back pressure is still going to be high enough to perform well regardless of bolt gun blast input that you pick to put through this silencer. And I think when you see the hazard maps next, you're going to see how that works. In fact, let's look at them right now at a time of 24 minutes and 7 seconds. Okay, we're cooking. This is good because I have a lot to do. Subtopic Delta, Hazard Map Brief 8.1.29. This is free for everyone in the world. You can pull it up right now on the website at pewscience.com. In section 8 of the standard, it's the 29th Hazard Map Brief. Okay, these are really short little articles because they're briefs. Get it? It's in the name. Now, this is going to get a little bit complicated because there are 2 tests in the report, and so therefore there are 2 hazard maps in the brief. Yeah, again, this is all numbered. You have one map, the 20-inch 308 bolt gun, and you got one map for the 8-inch 300 blackout bolt gun with subsonic ammo. Feel me? Okay. For those of you new to PEW Science or new to hazard maps, these are showing you the suppression rating spatially in a top-down bird's eye view of a 3 meter by 3 meter square covering the shooter and the weapon and his or her surroundings in the middle of an open field. Got it? Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you stuff about the map. Why don't you do this? Go to the report, click on the 308 map, which is the top one in figure 1, and make it bigger so you can see it. Okay, cool. On your phone, zoom in, whatever. Grab a beer, buckle in. On the 308 map, you can see that near the muzzle, there's a lot of red. Okay, that's danger. Yeah, universally. Universally, red is danger, yes? But near the operator and standing next to the operator, you would be sitting less red, more yellowish, kind of in the middle of the 40 zone. Okay, kind of getting out of the orange, moving into yellow, middle of the 40 zone. For a hunting silencer with a 308 bolt gun, this is a really good place to be if you're the shooter. And for me personally, that is pretty much the bare minimum performance I'm personally comfortable with for hunting with a rifle without hearing protection. Due to my pre-existing hearing damage, my ears get uncomfortable much more easily than someone with healthy ears. That's just, I have an injury from, it is what it is. So mid 40s suppression rating is a great buffer for me. For me, it's exceptional. If I'm hunting, that's just personal experience. I'm just telling you my personal experience. It's interesting how this map looks when you look at it. You're really projecting hazards forward because you do have quite a severe hazard field right near the end cap of the silencer. It's quite severe. It's definitely violent there. This should give you a window into what may happen if you were near a cliff face. You might need that mid to upper 40s ear suppression rating back toward the operator. You might need that in the free field. Why? Because it's going to drop with reflections, so you need that buffer. We've talked about that before. Don't be bleeding edge if you're going to be using your silencer in all kinds of weird environments. Give yourself a buffer or start putting on your earmuffs. Okay, now close that. We'll talk about that more technically later in the talk. Now, open the one in figure 2. It's the 300 blackout map. It's going to be way more green. You can't miss it. Make that bigger. Now, you look at this 300 blackout map, this next map, and you see not only are there different colors everywhere, indicating a different severity, but the contour shapes are also different, aren't they? The contour lines are different shape. If you were climbing a mountain, this mountain would look different, wouldn't it? You understand how to read a contour map? It's climbing the mountain of risk. Okay, that's what you should be thinking of with these hazard maps. That's literally what you're doing. Okay, when you get to the summit, it's really dangerous. Okay, or you can look at it as a valley. Actually, no, that's true. So you could actually be falling down to the pit of despair where the red is. Okay, don't get too close. You'll fall in. Yeah, that's a good analogy. Now, the reason why the risk mountain looks different in this map than it did in the Supersonic 308 map is because the combustion in the weapon system is much lower pressure and much lower duration. The net result is a completely different type of blast propagation out the end of the silencer. It's because of what happens inside that dictated that. Okay? There is a technical parameter annotated on these hazard maps that is more for us than it is for you, but it's there publicly. And that is the jet stability index. In these bolt gun maps, that stability index is a calculated parameter based upon the measured blast momentum in the test in certain ways. It's different than the semi-auto index. It doesn't matter to you. It's not for you. It's for us, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. Notice how in the 300 blackout map, the jet stability index is very high, and the 308 test, the index is low or lower. Now look at the hazard field shape coming out of the silencer in this map. Okay, the more stable jetting is happening in the 300 blackout test compared with the 308 test. As you can imagine, this is because the gas velocity is much lower and the jet is not breaking up as readily. Okay, those are some of the physics represented in the calculations that form these maps. These maps are not drawn by me on a whiteboard freehand and made up like crazy time, like I get a wild hair and be like, well, this client paid us $1 million, better change the suppression rate and draw a map. 140 dB. Yeah. You read the people saying things on the internet that are literally like mentally deficient people. They're saying that because they don't understand what they're reading, and they get scared and threatened, so they accuse. Okay, what I'm telling you is this is math. And we couldn't fake it if we tried. It'd be hard. It would take us more time to fake this than it would to do it for real. Okay, I just don't have the time. I run 2 laboratories. I don't have time to mess with tomfoolery. Okay, and so when you look at the stability of the jet not breaking up as fast coming out of the end orifice of the silencer in this map, the hazard risk field bloom will be more severe in the 308 map because of that, and the forward field of the 300 blackout hazard map almost gets uniform. If you were to go shoot these systems in real life, you would experience this type of field shape due to wave propagation. This is literally physics mapped to human risk with the suppression rating. It is the hazard maps in Section 8 are the culmination of 6 years of human risk research at PEW Science, codified with wave propagation physics propagated through the computational domain. You can fully read that in Section 8.1.1 of the standard. Now, the elephant in the room for folks new to silencers is that this is the same silencer, guys and gals, in these 2 maps. This is the same silencer. We have changed a barrel length, yes, but we also changed the blast load input. And when you have to suppress much less severe muzzle blast, the things coming out of the silencer that are suppressed are intuitively less severe. Okay, this is a visual, spatial example of that, not only in severity, but in spatial risk distribution. You see how it's not just it's not just the severity at a discrete point in space. It's the severity in a continuum and how it propagates spatially. Okay, because this is real life. Okay, so I hope this helps you understand this hazard map brief. It's very fast and quick and dirty. It's very complicated and very expensive. It's very expensive time with regard to man hours, and it's very computationally expensive to produce these maps. So it's expensive in man hours, and it's expensive in compute. Okay, and therefore it's expensive monetarily unless you work for free because you're independently wealthy. Okay, so this is an expensive thing that's distilled into a very small public free brief for you, the reader. Okay, that is intended to help you understand how you can protect your family and your dog and yourself and other things when you're shooting the silencers. Okay, so now we're going to look at the physics of why the maps look the way they look and what is fueling the physics just demonstrated in these maps from these 2 tests in the full report. Okay, at a time in subtopic, what is it? Subtopic echo are we on? Yeah, at a time of 33 minutes and 18 seconds. Okay, this is a good time. I think it's probably going to be over an hour today, but maybe not. It'd be great if we could get done under an hour. That would be fantastic. Okay, so it's a subtopic echo. So okay, we're going to go now. We're going to switch gears. I'm going to close the hazard map brief. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the section from Section 8 of the standard. Section 7 is the rankings. I'm going to go all the way back to Section 6 of the standard, which is all the comprehensive reports. I'm going to pull up report 6.232, which is the comprehensive 2-test report on the Vorix 30 Ti that was published on July 22nd, which would be last Wednesday. I'm going to pull that up. I'm going to pull up the member version. If you are not a PEW Science member, that's okay. Pull up the free public version. I'm not going to leave you behind. You can follow along if you want. And if you don't want to follow along because you're driving or whatever, it's cool. I'm going to do my best to do this verbally for you, okay? If you're mowing your lawn or whatever. We don't want you to like chop off your foot with your lawnmower. That'd be wild. It'd be really, stop the bleed. All right, so we're going to go and hit both of the test results up front. I'm going to give you the major metrics because I want to make a point. Then I'm going to walk you through the physics. Okay, so bottom line up front on a 20-inch 308 bolt gun with MA ball rounds, 31.3 suppression rating, 1 meter left of the end cap of the silencer, 1.6 meters above the ground in the tree-free field mil standard. 48.6 suppression rating, 6 inches right of the shooter's right ear in the free field mil standard. For a total overall composite suppression rating of 48.7. Okay, on that 20-inch 308 bolt gun. We just spoke about this on the hazard map that you saw. The hazard map's right next to the suppression rating graphic in this report so you can see it. Now, shifting gears to different combustion input, both in pressure and duration, we're looking at 300 subsonic 300 blackout out of an 8-inch barrel bolt gun, 63.2 suppression rating for the same silencer, 1 meter left of the end cap, 1.6 meters above the ground in the tree-free field mil standard, 62.7 suppression rating, 6 inches right of the shooter's right ear, free field mil standard, for a total composite suppression rate of 66.4 on that weapon system. And that's why almost the whole map is green, okay? Now, pay attention for a second. You may be saying to yourself under your breath, wait a minute. Why in the heck did the composite suppression rating jump up so much in the 300 blackout test compared to the detailed muzzle and ear ratings in that test? But in the 308 test, the composite rating is just really close to the ear rating. Because remember, in the 308 test, muzzle 31.3, ear 48.6, composite 48.7. 300 blackout, you had muzzle was 63.2, ear was 62.7, composite was 66.4. That's different. The composite rating jumped up higher than both the muzzle and ear, but in 308 it didn't. 308 was only a tenth higher than the ear. Does that mean that the ear rating is more important in the composite rating number or something because of what happened in the 308 test? No. It doesn't mean that at all, so don't think that, because it doesn't mean that. I've seen people say that. It doesn't mean that at all. No. The composite suppression rating is intended to be a one-number quantification of the complex risk field you see in the hazard maps. Okay? It can never be lower than the highest detailed rating. It just can't. However, it can get higher when there's a balance in the risk field. Okay? Remember, this is a risk metric. When the field is balanced, the composite suppression rating gives credit to the balanced suppressed weapon system. So when you look at the 308 map, the composite rating is giving credit for the higher ear suppression performance, but not much more credit because the forward field is super dangerous. Look at it. Now, when you look at the 300 blackout map, you're seeing low to mid 60s everywhere, right? The algorithm knows that, and the composite rating jumps a few points to represent the field balance. That's it, dude. It's just math. If you want one number, this is how you do it objectively. It's just math. There's no voodoo. There's no conspiracy. It's just how it works. It's a mathematical formula. And this is a good example because it's literally for the same silencer in the two cases in the same report. It's just two different hazard fields. So this is an excellent example of how the composite suppression rating one number metric works. PEW Science hates using one number. We hate the one number composite rate suppression rating. We don't like it. We've never liked it. We don't want to use it. But everyone wants one number. So here we are. And if you don't like the one number, you can completely ignore it because you can sort all the rankings in section 7 by the muzzle or ear. And now you have the hazard map, so throw the big number in the trash if you want. It's just enough. You don't need to use it. Okay? Scroll down to figure 1. Now that you better understand that by this point. And if you don't, listen to it again. And if you don't, if you read this report and you listen to this podcast and you still don't understand something, email us. and I will walk it through. I will walk it through with you. And if you don't email us, well, then I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear a complaint. Hear a complaint. Okay. Scroll down to figure 1, which is an intermediate bar chart. Okay. It's really simple. You're going to see what we just spoke about, but in a more simple way to help you learn it. What this bar chart shows in figure 1, and there's not that many bars in it, what it shows is that 308 is more dangerous than 300 blackout. Yes. Okay. Good. When it's suppressed, still good. Okay. That's what the chart shows. 308 is more dangerous than subsonic 300 blackout. Yes. Okay. Another thing it shows is that with no silencer, they are both very dangerous. Oh my God. With no silencer, unsuppressed muzzle blast from 308 or subsonic 300 blackout from a short barrel are almost equally dangerous to you. That's right. It has nothing to do with projectile speed at all. It is the blast loads. It is the explosion in the gun that comes out of the barrel when you don't have a silencer on it. It is the blast loads. 20-inch barrel 308 versus 8-inch barrel 300 blackout subsonic, which is a pistol cartridge. Blast loads are severe. Have you ever taken out your handgun, 9mm or 45 or 40, pick a flavor, and shot it without ears because you thought it wouldn't be a big deal, and then heard the tinnitus fairy come to visit you and ask for something under your pillow? Yeah, that was blast damage to your ears. 8-inch 300 blackout, unsuppressed, even if subsonic? Yes. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that will hurt you. It's not the velocity of the projectile. The velocity of the projectile is a byproduct of energy transfer. Blast loads don't care about the projectile. Neither should you, unless you're in front of it. Okay? Blast loads are severe. This is why we use silencers. Silencers suppress blast overpressure. Okay, so there are 3 big takeaways overall for this silencer from these 2 tests right up front. And the really cool thing is, if you don't understand what I'm about to tell you, they're written in 3 numbered bullets under figure 1 in the report. I'm going to summarize it. The first thing you need to know is that this silencer works on both supersonic high pressure cartridges and subsonic low pressure cartridges. Okay, that's important, and it's most certainly not always the case. It's most certainly not always the case that a silencer can be a switch hitter like this. Remember, flow-through technology from Huxworks, for example, remember how bad that can be with subsonic rounds? Why? Because flow-through technology from Huxworks needs high pressure to function properly due to surface area contact and saturation of the internals. That's why. It's physics. Okay. The second, understand why it's not always roses and you can't always perform highly. Just like this Vorix 30 is not super advanced. It's just optimized and it's not flow-through. Okay. Second thing, and when I say it's not flow-through, it's not Huxworks flow-through. PEW Science doesn't use the word flow-through as a catch-all term for high flow rate because it's not the same thing. Okay, I know your buddy at the gun store said it, and I know your buddy on Reddit said it. That flows, and I know your favorite manufacturer that everyone loves said they have a flow-through silencer and they're not Huxworks. I know they said that, but they don't. Okay, the second thing that's really important is that there's a big differential between the muzzle hazards and the ear hazards with the 308 test with the Vorix 30. There's a big differential. And we spoke about that earlier, and we're going to look more at the physics later, but there's a big takeaway, so keep that in mind. The hazard map should help you. Before you had the hazard maps, you might see these bars and freak out. Now you have the hazard maps, you can see easily, just stay behind the guy. Stay behind the shooter, you'll be all right. Okay, cool. The third big takeaway here about this that you can see in figure 1 is that the 300 blackout performance is very balanced. You can see the bars are really close together. Again, we spoke about this, and we spoke about the design optimization that facilitates it with this conventional design. So you already know this. I'm just repeating it in a different way and showing you different pictures so you can learn it better. Okay, cool. Keep in mind, this is important. Keep in mind, these performance relationships that you see in figure 1 for the Vorix 30 on the 2 different weapons, they will not be the same for other silencers. Not all silencers scale the same way with combustion input. They just don't. You cannot make a catch-all rule of thumb. It doesn't work. I know the dealer told you can. I know you can't. Okay, you can't. I promise. Okay, now let's look at blast overpressure and blast impulse. You scroll down to figure 2, and this is actually really important and really crazy. Because you're getting something a little special, some old school PEW science that you might not remember if you're new. Because this time, instead of just figure 2A and 2B, you also have a figure 2C. So first we're going to go full time regime, and then 2B, which is a little new here for you probably, we're going to go ultra early time, and then we'll go normal early time in 2C. And the reason we had to split this up, was because, oh, he's giving special treatment to T&K. No, it's because the physics demanded it to show you what's happening, and we don't just put waveforms or data on a website and pretend we did testing for you that's valuable. We're actually showing you what's happening so we can explain it so you actually learn something, because none of this matters if the industry doesn't improve. Okay, see how in figure 2A you have incredibly long duration blowdown? How do we know that? Well, you can visualize it, and then you can look at every other through a report and compare. It takes a very long time to blow down out of this restrictive lower volume silencer. Think about that. It stands to reason that that would be the case. What you may also notice is that there's something absolutely wild happening in early time before the primary momentum accumulation. Okay? I know that sounds complicated. I'm going to walk you through it. You see that really, really huge spike that spans both the positive and negative phase in figure 2A in early time? That is your coupled jetting and initial jet events, okay, which with this silencer are actually extremely unique. It's extremely unique. Now you look at figure 2B, here we're zooming in really, really closely. And just so you have an appreciation, just so you can, to give you an idea of how fast things are happening, the total time scale in figure 2B is 1.4 milliseconds. Okay, isn't that 30.7 minus 29.3? That's right. 1.4 milliseconds. Okay. That's pretty fast. But in those 1.4 milliseconds, a lot is happening. The internal combustion in the silencer, like as the combustion propagates through the titanium, it's extremely consistent from shot to shot. It's actually incredibly so. Like if you look at that at approximately 29.7 millisecond timestamp in figure 2B in this report, I would challenge you to fathom the consistency between those two waveforms from shot to shot and ask yourself what that means. Like what it means for the silencer, what it means for the data acquisition, what it means for the test setup, what it means for you, what it means for the world, what it means for physics. Ponder that. Like get a beer, look at that, and you decide for yourself whether or not this is real. I would challenge you to just give it some critical thinking if you have any doubt. That's one of those things that you see and you're like, oh, I guess it is that like that because it's the way it is. And it's like, that's right. That's where that saying comes from. Observe the universe around you, the natural world, and marvel at its spectacular nature. Look at the creation that has happened in front of you. You don't have to be religious, but when you look at things like this, think about it. Think about what you're seeing and marvel at physics. It's beautiful, okay? Then immediately after that happens, and the Mach wave from the projectile forms, and then the jet pushing that projectile nests with it when it comes out. Look how consistent that part is. We can keep going. Right? I'm serious. There are physics that are being represented, but these are not squiggles on a page. Right after that happens, this is when things get really crazy, and this is very important for the silencer. Okay, this is I can't express to you how important this is for the Vorix, because things get dicey. This silencer clearly has an initial issue controlling combustion propagation. You get an extremely high rate momentum transfer at first, extremely. And that's one of the reasons it's dangerous to be right next to the silencer, frankly. It is. And the hazard map shows you how dangerous it is to be right next to the silencer. The hazard map shows you. This is why. But as soon as the silencer pressurizes after the big momentum swing, it behaves like a normal high-performance bolt gun can. This is actually one of the craziest things I've ever seen in silencer testing and analysis. And I don't know if anyone picked up on this, and I'm a little bit disappointed that you didn't. That's okay. I have high standards. It's fine. I'm a little crazy. Look how extreme the rarefaction is in early time in figure 2b. And you can see it from space, it's so big. You can see it in figure 2a and 2c as well. But I delineated and labeled two of the damn points for you in 2b. I labeled them. What does it mean? We've talked about this. What does it mean when rarefaction gets severe like that? It means the momentum is cooking. Okay? You're really severe, but then things get super quiet for a little while, don't they? When you, zoom out. In the time scale, I did it for you. You don't even have to see. You don't have to zoom in or out. I do it for you. Figure 2C. You zoom out a little bit, not a lot of it, but a little bit. You see that lull after rarefaction? The lull I'm talking about is at 31 milliseconds. You see that lull? You see that lull right after the primary jetting and before the primary blowdown? That is like the eye of a hurricane right there. Super calm. It's wild. Now, okay, stick with me. Now, take all those physics that you just learned and look at it in blast impulse space to track momentum instead of blast overpressure in figure 3. You got figure 3A and 3B per typical, okay? So you see how in figure 3, you have that wild momentum spike, and then it dips, and then things start to behave like a normal bolt gun silencer, right? It almost looks like if you I'm serious as a heart attack right now. Cover your left eye, cover the initial momentum spike with your hand on the plot, and just look at the later time. And what do you see? You almost looks like a normal 308 bolt gun silencer, doesn't it? I think that's so wild. Let me give you an analogy, so you can maybe you can. I can maybe. I'm not going to say who can't relate to the analogy I'm about to give you, but maybe you can. What the Vorix 30 was basically doing in this test, it was driving around a blind curve with a Miller Lite in its hand. It almost spun out and lost traction, but it didn't. And then it almost hit a tree, but it didn't. And then it got back on the road, and everything was fine, and it kept driving. It's a little dark out. And then the silencer looked at itself in the rear view mirror, and it was like, whoa, dude, that was close. Okay, I probably shouldn't be driving right now, but maintain. I'm good. Now, that is basically the Vorix 30 Ti and 308. It's a lucky drunk driver, kinda. Okay, that is a good way to say it. Like, I'm not condoning drinking and driving. I'm not saying T&K drinks and drive. I'm not saying that. I'm kidding around, but I'm giving you a seat of your pants almost died. Like, how close was this silencer to completely runaway blast load propagation in early time? How close was this to running into the ditch and hitting the bottom of the rankings, dude? Wild, right? So it was so close, dude. You saw it happen. I just walked you through this. I just walked you through this guy almost spilling his Miller Lite all over his dashboard because he almost hit a tree, and just maintaining and pulling it out and being all right, dude. That's awesome, dude. He didn't crash. Don't drink and drive. Now, the porting did its job after reaching saturation pressure. Is that getting lucky? I'm going to say yes, dude. Actually, I'm very careful because I really respect engineers and silencer designers. I respect the clients. I respect the non-clients. I respect all companies, and I'm very careful. I do not want to downplay people's performance and their hard work. But I am going to say in this case, I think there's a bit of luck involved with this design, and that's okay. Sometimes that's what you figure out with trial and error, and that's perfectly okay. It is perfectly okay to get lucky. You can't take advantage of luck unless you put in the work, right? So I'm not saying luck is bad. I'm saying, bro, they got really lucky at 31 milliseconds. Okay. And they got lucky 5 times in a row. Okay. So how much was it? It was basically design luck, and it worked. Okay. 1 second. They didn't get lucky 5 times in a row. They got lucky, and then the silencer consistently performed. Okay, so it's a unique. Now, I say all this to say, you see, and you can read the report. I didn't say anything about Miller Lite in the report, though. It's a unique fingerprint. Okay, there's no mistaking the Vorix 30 for anything else, dude. You could test 100 silencers, and obviously we have. You can test 100 silencers. You're never going to see a signature like this unless it's like the Vorix. It's a fingerprint. Okay. PEW Science members, what I want you to do, if you have time, you don't have to do it now. Check out the member section of the full report for the shooter's ear blast data, and you will see. I'm going to double check this. I'm going to scroll down. Yeah, you will see the initial jetting being present at the shooter's location. But boy, oh boy, is it less severe due to the what? Tell me why. Why is it less severe? Decay and duration, baby. That's right. That's why you get such a fantastic increase in personnel protection moving back behind the source. Because that initial jet phenomenon that we just talked about at the muzzle is so uncontrolled. It's very short-lived, and it's extremely localized in its physics up front. And that is really awesome to know. It's really awesome to know. You would simply not know that had you not measured behind the muzzle, would you? Which is important. Flow rate can do wild stuff, and it does it throughout the time regime. It does. It's a continuum. It's not a binary on-off. It's not like a silencer is like, oh, it's high flow rate. Oh, it's low flow rate. No. It's nuanced. It's in a time continuum. Okay, so now. We just talked about 308, quick and dirty. I hope you understand what happened. Now what we're going to do, before we compare everything, we're going to move to subsonic 300 blackout, bonus round. Now you're going to ask yourself, are you going to see the same behavior in this 300 blackout test with a silencer as you do with supersonic 308? Your immediate answer may be, well, no. You told us 300 blackout was safer. Well, there's a lot more green on the map. Should be quieter. Should be safer. Should be more balanced field. Should be good. You said all that, and I did. You're not crazy. All those things are correct. You're right. It will not be as dangerous with subsonic 300 blackout as it was with supersonic 308. That's true. However, that doesn't mean the silencer is not going to show its fingerprint. Okay, you can't hide from physics. Check out figure 7. Scroll down, homies. That's right. Now we're in a different test. Oh my God, same report. This is going to be section 6.223.4.1. Sound signatures at the muzzle with 300 blackout. That's right. Okay, figure 7, 7A, and 7B. Both blast overpressure in the free field, but this time from subsonic 300 blackout combustion. All right, 1 second. I feel like I'm talking fast, but I think I have to get through this. There's a lot to say. You see how early on you have another early time jetting event? I'm serious. Look at figure 7A and you're like, oh my God. I know the waveform looks different because of 300 blackout, but oh my God. Is that another early time jetting event? And then you look at figure 7B and you zoom in early time and you see, you're like, oh my God, there is another early time jetting event. Same thing the silencer did with the muzzle blast from 308, just less severe and different shape. Oh my God. Yeah, it's much less severe, but it's there. It is there. You can't hide it. And then you see the lull. Oh my God, there's a lull. Oh my God. Same lull, just shorter lived. The same lull, just shorter lived. And then what? Then you see the primary blowdown phase begin. Same blowdown phase, just lower amplitude and shorter duration. Oh my God. The silencer is doing literally exactly the same thing with subsonic 300 blackout in the way it did with 308. It's just getting away with it better because the input combustion event is more forgiving. That's right, dude. He's going the speed limit around the curve. Do not confuse that with projectile velocity. It's just an analogy about the guy with the Miller Lite. This is a classic example of scalable technology. Okay? And not only that, a very scalable technology that is relatively simple. This silencer is literally so well optimized that you can put it on a 300 blackout bolt gun and get a balanced risk field and suppression performance that is ultra competitive. And then you can put nitrous in it, go around a blind curve drunk with 308, and it almost goes off the road, but it doesn't. This is basically an economical sports car, if you want to use a car analogy. Okay, it'll do well in a normal track environment, and if you take it to the drag strip, you can juice it up. As long as you don't lose control, you'll be all right. Maybe get a decent quarter mile time. Very forgiving until you start, blowing seals, I guess. So when you look at this 300 blackout performance, these analogies are getting out of control. When you look at this 300 blackout performance, one could argue this thing belongs on 300 blackout. One could make the argument this is a 300 blackout silencer. And if we didn't have 308 data, I might have believed you. I might have believed you if you said that. But the fact that we have both is utterly crazy because the fingerprints match, dude. We see the scaling ability. This thing doesn't even have annular flow, and it might be one of the most balanced and scalable rifle silencers for bolt guns we've ever evaluated for the size. And that's crazy because I'm pretty sure this is a new silencer company. So that's a good time to be alive, in my opinion. You feel me? Like, that's pretty crazy. I mean, look at it, dude. And you scroll down, and if you remember in this report, look at the shooter's ear 300 blackout data. Incredibly low amplitude blast loads and momentum traces. The catch here is is that the durations are so long. That's why you aren't breaking to the 70 zone, and it's also driving frequency components that prevent you from getting to that 70 zone. You can't hit the top without more volume or off-axis flow, and that's okay, dude. I'm just telling you there are limits to certain physics. This silencer does not pretend to be something it's not. It is not trying to be a hero. It's just doing solid work. That this is a utilitarian workhorse silencer for a bolt gun. Okay, that brings me to the performance comparisons and overall thoughts and subtopic Foxtrot at a time of 1 hour. Shoot. 1 minute and 54 seconds. Okay, so clearly, well, we had to talk a lot about the technical physics because we had 2 tests to go through. So I don't feel bad that that's just it is what it is. So okay, so Foxtrot performance comparisons and overall thoughts. Okay, this is actually where section 7 of the Silencer Sound Standard, the ranking section, would help you, but you don't need to do that. If what you do, you can go to see the table for the 308 performance. If you scroll all the way back up to figure 6. Oh, dude, 1 second. Yeah. So figure 6. Here, what we did was we placed every single 308 bolt gun tested silencer less than or equal to 8 inches long with the mount as tested, past the barrel shoulder. Okay, so, and I qualify it with that. Obviously, we have to pick a reference point, and also because that crazy multifunction muzzle device from the Snail from Strategic Sciences with the SDX, that's in here because it's a reflex. So that's why it's 7.81 inches past the, the SDX is 7.72 inches past the barrel shoulder, but also the whole thing's 10 inches long because it goes back over the barrel. But anyway, the rest of the silencers in the plot or the bar chart are normal muzzle mount. Okay, so when you see that, you'll see that the Vorix is highly competitive here for the size. Now, to bystanders, it's hitting the off-grid TI, Trident TI, the Liberty Precision Machine Anthem S, the Anthem S2, the Aero Precision Lahar 30, Precision Armament Titrex 300. You're hitting solid performance there. For operator protection, dude, you're hitting what? PWS BD 762, Anthem S2, Lahar 30 again. Dude, you're in good company on 308 with this can. And you're only 7.8 inches long with the mount installed in it. 7.5 inches mount without the mount, 7.5 inches long without the mount. So, dude, you're solid performance competitively here with a lot of big name silencers, a lot of fatter silencers. Now, if you go off this list, you go off of this chart, and then you go to the long silencers. Dude, you're punching up with the Banish 30 Gold, the Thunder Beast Ultra 9, the Able Company Theorem L. Dude, those are 9-inch silencers, and this thing's 7.8 with the mount. So for 308, dude, this mid-size silencer is performing. Does it have headroom? No. It absolutely doesn't have it. Are you an audio person? Do you like amps? No, dude, you're at 11 already with the silencer. You're not cranking this up past 11. You're going to blow it up. This thing is, it is redlined on 308. But I'm not talking about with durability. I'm talking about with performance. I just told you about this thing going around a blind curve with a beer in its Miller Lite in its hand, less subtopic. If you skip that, well, you missed something cool. Okay, it does that with 308. But does it have the performance and control to not fly off the road on a 308 bolt gun? And it does, dude. It's a good driver. It's been in the game for a while. Now, this analogy's getting dumb. Now move to 300 blackout. You slow down a little bit. This is where it sings. You scroll down to, figure 11. In order of length, you are outperforming a Surefire SOCOM 300 SPS, dude. And now just stop for a second and think about this. Do you understand how good of a 300 blackout silencer the Surefire SOCOM 300 SPS is? It's good, dude. It's really good. It's literally designed for 300 blackout. Some people would argue that it's their favorite 300 blackout silencer of all time. I know Reddit won't tell you that, but the world's really big. The Vorix 30 outperforms it, and it's way lighter than the 300 SPS. Like way lighter. That's huge, dude. It does so well. The Vorix 30 does so well in 300 blackout bolt gun. Excuse me. That it's up there with the JUL, Hydrogen L. Dude, an operator is going to think it sounds pretty good, kind of like the old SIG cans, like the old SRD 762 QDTI, which is an excellent 300 blackout silencer that I wish they still made. Don't buy a knockoff clone of that. It's a sacrilege. One second. No, maybe I better not say that. Someone's gonna get all mad, but don't buy counterfeits. But like what I'm saying is like that old SRD 762 TIQD, which is longer than the Vorix 30, man, they perform similarly. That's what a good peg point to have. Suppression rating, cool, right? All in all, you get bleeding edge performance with full rifle rounds that almost runs away but doesn't. When you go a little bit easier with what you feed it, you shine with subsonic 300 blackout. It's a good place to be for a mid-sized 30 caliber bolt gun can. Not too heavy, relatively small diameter, not too long, comes with a mount. You could probably get deer with this thing, no problem. Seems appropriate. So it seems, based on the test data, based on the engineering analysis, T&K hit the mark on this for what they wanted to do. So big thanks to T&K Hunting, big thanks to T&K Suppressors for trusting our laboratory to perform this work. It was a pleasure. We learned a lot. I hope the public learned a lot. I hope you learned a lot. And now let's we're going to go into topic 2 for something completely and utterly different in every possible way at a time of 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 13 seconds. Okay. Like that was excessive. So topic 2, Sound Signals Review 6233, Otter Creek Labs Infinity 556K, and the Mark 18 with 3 different end caps with a bonus silencer tone study for PEW Science members with a silencer hazard map brief 8.1.30 with 3 maps, 1 for each end cap. And so today with this report, we're gonna help answer the question: how does Otter Creek Labs Infinity Tech behave when it has a more dedicated bore for the 5.56 cartridge? Are there any improvements over the larger 30 caliber Infinity in the roll? And again, this is just going to be an introductory discussion for today's big report on this variable back pressure hard use silencer with an advanced analysis of tone physics. that are always included in the suppression rating. Okay, now if you're just joining us and you skipped the first hour of this podcast because you're here just for the Otter Creek Labs Infinity 506K, that's fine. And I encourage you guys to use these timestamps to skip to wherever you would like. I will just say, if you want to learn about silencer physics and you skip the first hour, you missed something good. And I don't even care if you don't like the silencer. It's just because you would have learned something. Now, in this Mark 18 report for this Otter Creek thing, this is a lot of testing, guys. And in fact, we did 14.5-inch M4 too. I told Otter Creek, I was like, I can't handle that right now. Too much. We'll publish it for you later. There's too much. You would not be able to learn. I couldn't teach you fast enough. And if I can't teach you fast enough, I don't want to present the information. I don't believe in that. And people can dog on us all they want about that. I don't care. Okay, I mean, it's a hard line that I put here with this research effort. If I can't teach you how this stuff works, I'm not going to do it. Okay, I'm not going to overload you with information, because there's already people that can't catch up. Okay, I'm not trying to teach the lowest common denominator. Of course, we're raising the bar, but there's a point that it just if I can't keep up to teach you, because there's only so many hours in the day with the publication frequency we can handle, then it's not fruitful for anyone. Okay, so I just want to let you know this is just the Mark 18, but there's a lot. Okay, so this is, and it's fine. This report, if you read nothing else about the Infinity 506K from Otter Creek, if you only read this report that's being published today, you're going to know more about the Infinity 506K than anyone except for Andrew and John. Okay? No, I'm serious. Nobody knows more than what's in this report than Andrew and John about the Infinity 506K. Nobody. And when I say Andrew and John, they're the owners of Otter Creek Labs. Okay? Okay, so the Infinity itself is one of the most characterized modern hybrid silencer technologies on the planet, because Otter Creek keeps asking us to test it on everything. Okay? And that's why. We know how the Infinity tech works pretty well, dude. I don't know how many reports on the website there are for the Infinity tech, but go look. It's on AKs. It's on everything, dude. This program was really cool because it answered a huge question we had. If you made the bore tighter, like it's supposed to be for things like 556, just how much more efficient could the Infinity tech be? Okay, and let me pull up the draft because I want to make sure I don't forget something to tell you to look at when you read this, because I'm sorry. There's I know I'm all over the place right now. Give me a break. It's a long podcast. Okay, I have it now. So, okay. This question about how much more efficient could the Infinity tech be if you made a dedicated bore and you tweaked it a little bit? It's a good question. I think it's a question that a lot of people asked. It's a question that we asked, and I think we get to answer that with today's report. So this is the Infinity 506K. The normal Infinity is a 30 caliber silencer. This is not. They skipped the Infinity 556 for whatever reason, and they went directly from the Infinity to a somewhat shorter size with a K designation and made it 243 caliber, like the polonium. So this is the Infinity 556K. You can shoot 6mm through it, even though it's called the 556K. Go figure. That's what it is. Okay. This is one of the longest silencer reports we've published, because not only does it include 3 tests, the solid end cap, the partially vented end cap, and the fully vented end cap, but it also has a tone case study in it for PEW Science members. Okay, one thing to know about the Infinity technology, if you haven't read all of our other reports on it, is that it has adjustable flow rate. Okay, the Infinity family of silencers has adjustable flow rate mechanically. It's mechanically adjustable, okay? But it's not as simple as just having end caps with more or less holes in them. It does have that, but it doesn't work the same as something like a conventional silencer would work. Like, it's not like you are just drilling out the end cap and venting more blast loads out of the main bore every time. That's not what you're doing. Depending on the end cap you pick to use with the silencer, both the Infinity and the Infinity 556K allow you to choose to vent nothing but the main bore, or from the main bore and the annulus, or from more of the main bore and more of the annulus. Okay, so there's levels to this. There's literally different venting configurations that actively change the silencer behavior depending on what end cap you pick, and it's not as simple as drilling more holes in the end, as a famous silencer person once said, to remain nameless. So in the past Infinity test programs, there was not something called a partially vented end cap. We didn't evaluate that. That is a new addition to the Infinity line. And it's actually the end cap that is sold with the retail package of the Infinity 556K. I learned this by going to the website. I actually did not know that before or after the test program. And you know what? I'm sure Otter Creek Labs told me. I'm sure Andrew told me, but I just forgot because he probably tells me a lot of things I forget. And it's very interesting that the partially vented end cap is included with the Infinity 556K because it just so happens you might experience the most balanced performance with that end cap of any of the configurations on an untuned Mark 18. Note that I said untuned Mark 18 because these tests are on an untuned Mark 18. What kind of gun did we use when we tested the silencer? Was it a Mark 18? Why, yes, it was. It was an untuned Mark 18. Now, you might be asking yourself, was the rifle tuned? No, it was not. In fact, you could actually call it an untuned Mark 18. I'm just seeing if you are paying attention. Maybe if I say that 100 times and write it in the reports 100 times, it'll stick. Okay, if you tune your AR-15 rifle, you will get different results than what's shown in the reports. The reason we don't tune the rifle is because we want a consistent test platform. You can't tune a gun for a silencer and make it tuned for a second silencer. Do you understand? That is the first reason we don't tune guns for the testing. That's the first reason. The second reason, and debatably a more important reason why we don't tune the guns for these cans, is that this is the conservative risk result for the operator. We are not in the business of selling silencers. Or recommending them for you. We will not tell you what silencer you should buy ever. We are in the business of telling you how dangerous the weapon system is. This is not a review aggregator, silencer, Yelp, whatever, dude. This is not that. If you want that, go find that somewhere else. These are silencer physics studies and human risk studies. Okay? So I want to be very clear. We are controlling the environment and controlling variables so we can study the physics and tell you how the silencer behaves with low uncertainty. And secondly, we are trying to protect you from hurting yourself. Okay? And those around you. Okay. So when you see today's report, you're going to have 3 different sets of suppression ratings, of course, and you're going to have 3 different hazard maps. One for each end cap. Good, right? Good deal? Okay. You're also going to get a comparison of all the other Otter Creek Labs AR Silencer 556 tests, and there's 9 of them. We don't have the Universe 36 in there, and honestly, like, I didn't think about putting it in there because it's way overboard and it's a universal can, and it just doesn't fit with the theme. So if you really want to print this off and write the Universe 36 data on it too, and to make yourself feel better, I'm sorry, it's not on there. But there's not 10, there's not, in the first section of the report, in the summary, there's 9 tests instead of 10, but it's a conspiracy. It's like, okay, well, it's the same damn manufacturer, so relax. The reason why there's a comparison up front of all the poloniums and the infinities and the Infinity 556K test is because it's important for you to understand the design evolution of this, of their product line, so you can understand how industry advancement has taken hold, how they did it in the different, and how they compare, and whether or not that will matter to you. It's important. Okay, so that's the first thing you get in the report, besides the suppression ratings and maps. And PEW Science Members in the next section is something that we usually do separately, but I thought that it was actually very fitting to do this in the main report. PEW Science Members are going to get a case study in section 2 of this report on tone. And that is to show you, all of you that can read it, exactly why the end caps sound different, how they sound different, why they sound different, and what people will think, and why people will think they sound different, and how those people will think that they sound different, and why they will think they will sound different. And we're going to do all of that without doing a survey or something. We're going to use math and physics. We're not going to do a poll and be like, well, what did you think? I thought it sounded like this. I thought it's... No. We're going to use math and physics that can't have emotions or agendas. Okay? People are generally unreliable because they're people and it's not their fault. They're human. Humans are they're soft creatures. They make mistakes. Math and physics, when it's reviewed and calculated correctly and consistently, it's very reliable. And so we're going to take all the opinion out of it, but we're going to reconcile the subjective opinions you might think are subjective with this mathematical data in this tone study. Okay? Objective tone information. We are taking something you feel is subjective, and we're going to objectify your subjective opinion, and we're going to give it to you straight and factually with math. We will show you that tone is actually not subjective at its core. Okay? Longtime PEW Science readers will recognize the analysis type that we are using here in the frequency domain. You will recognize it if you've been with PEW Science for a while. For those of you new to PEW Science, buckle up because you're about to have some science nerd stuff that you can definitely talk about at parties, and you might even talk about it at the bar when you're picking up a chick. Let's be honest, none of you pick up chicks. No, I'm just kidding. Some of you might. Nerds. No, again, that section of the report is only for PEW Science members because you support us. And so you deserve this. And if you are not a member, that is completely okay. We still love you. But you don't get to see everything unless you support us. I think that's fair. And guess what? Since it's so cheap, and it's been 6 years, we haven't increased the membership fees, I don't feel guilty about that. So don't worry. I'll give you the bottom line of what we discovered in the tone research supplement there in the report next podcast episode. You'll get the answer. You just won't be able to check our work. What? Don't you want to peer review it? So after that, after that tone study, you're going to see all of the blast overpressure. I made a joke. I laughed. Oh, that's funny. You're going to see all the blast overpressure measurements for all 3 end caps. Okay, all of it, dude. In this report, it's crazy. So this entire report on the Infinity 556K, as long as it is not only an excellent case study on tone, but it's also an excellent case study on silencer back pressure, the efficiency of dedicated bore silencers, how a single silencer design can be completely revamped for different applications when it's optimized intelligently and purposefully. The Infinity tech is a big learning experience. I would say all in all, it's a really dang good case study, and we're very honored to be able to be asked to do it. Otter Creek Labs 556 suppression has advanced, and when you see the introductory section in the report, and you're going to be brought down memory lane with the advancements, and it's a telling road. The proof's in the pudding, man. It's all this, and all of this is independent testing. This silencer's interesting. They went from Inconel with the regular Infinity to Haynes. I almost think it's because their printer was cheaper or something. I don't think it matters. I mean, yes, are Inconel or Haynes different? They are. If you want to actually learn the technical details about the metallurgy between Inconel and Haynes, I discussed that on the JK Armament Procore 556K. I don't know if it was the intro discussion for that or if it was the technical talk, but we definitely went over that on the podcast. Okay, so I don't remember if YouTube killed the episode or not or whatever, but it's on our RSS feed, so you can always find it. But anyway, so the Infinity 556K, it's about an inch shorter than an Infinity. It's dedicated bore 556 instead of 30 caliber. It's Haynes instead of Inconel. It's hub compatible. You can buy it with or without a mount. The mount it comes with if you choose to buy it with the mount, is a Reardon single port brake and a Reardon Atlas. And guess what it was tested with? The Reardon single port brake and a Reardon Atlas. And why did PEW Science test the Infinity 556K with the Reardon single port brake instead of direct thread? Because Otter Creek Labs asked us to. Why did Otter Creek Labs ask us to do that? Because they told us it was the highest performing configuration, and that's why they were selling it with a silencer. And I said, you're the boss. Okay. If you want to test it, we'll test it with that. Fine. We will test the silencer with whatever mount a company wants us to test it with. I do not care, dude. I just tell them, I say, look, if we test the silencer with a Reardon Atlas and a Reardon single port brake, it is gonna be 6.125 inches long, and it's gonna weigh 18.9 ounces, and that's what's going in the database. And the test data is only valid for that mount. And you cannot extrapolate to direct thread, and you cannot claim that the silencer does what it does with the direct thread. And they said, I know. I said, okay, as long as you know, and as long as the public knows, we don't care. We'll tell you what we're testing it with. In every single report, we tell you what we test it with. So I don't care if a silencer company came to us and they said, we have this silencer and we want to test it with a mount that's 4 inches long. I say, okay. You say, is that gonna be a problem? I say, why would it be a problem? It's your silencer. And the people are gonna know that your silencer is 4 inches longer than what you told them it was on the website, and they're gonna be like, well, can you? I was like, no. Can you nothing? We're gonna report what we tested. And they say, well, maybe we don't want to use the 4 inch long silencer mount. I was like, well, maybe you don't. It's up to you. Are you planning on publishing this work? Well, maybe we might publish it. I was like, okay, it's your choice. I don't care. You see, that's how this works. There's no mystery. Most of the testing that this lab does is never published. Okay? Sometimes it is. And today, you're getting Reardon single port brake Infinity 556 test results with all 3 end caps. And they're apparently they're including the partially vented end cap with the silencer. So if you want the other ones, you can buy them from them, I guess. But I think after you read the report, I don't know, you might still want them. You might not. It depends. It depends what flow rate you want. So big thanks to Otter Creek Labs for continuing to trust us to do this stuff. It's crazy. We've evaluated their silencers for years, I think, and it's interesting. I don't know when our first Otter Creek Labs silencer report was. In fact, let me pull that up just because We have, we're about an hour and a half. Let me do that. So just to go down memory lane, just in case you thought this was like new or something. So I just went to the ranking section and selected the manufacturers of Otter Creek Labs. I'm going to sort by record number, ascending. And so the first one we published for them was in report 48, and it happened to be record number 48. And if I click on that, it was a bolt gun test. Oh, I'm not logged in. His website's user-friendly. Everyone loves it. So I click on this. August 5th, 2021. Okay, there was a PR30L on the Model 10 Savage. It was a 308 bolt gun test. August 5th of 2021. So from August 5th of 2021 till we're almost in August of 2026. So we've been publishing Otter Creek Labs test results publicly on our website for 5 years. Okay. So when you look at this report and you look at what the Infinity 556K is doing, you will be able to witness real-time, public documented history of advancement in silencer technology from a single manufacturer on a standard test bed, on a standard platform in the silencer sound standard over 5 years, over half a decade. So that's why I'm thanking Otter Creek Labs for trusting us to do it, because we have most of their products showcased in reports that they can't control. They can't control what we write. Okay, so we enjoyed this one. We're going to go deep on the silencer next week. What you need to know right now is that the flow rate's high. Suppression works well. Just like the Infinity 762 or the full-size Infinity, it has a high early time flow rate, and you can control the distal momentum propagation with the end caps. It's very durable. And if you are only shooting a 30 caliber Infinity on 5.56, like if you have a 30 caliber Infinity and you're only shooting it on a 5.56, it might be that you see this and you want to specialize to the Infinity 5.56K if you're into the platform. That might be something people end up doing, and the reason is, and we're going to talk about that. We talk about this in the report a lot, and we're going to talk about it next week. The combustion propagation control, the blast load propagation control with a dedicated bore with the Infinity Tech is heads and shoulders above the Infinity 30 caliber. So if you're a 5.56 person and you want to be an Infinity person, the Infinity 5.56K follows it minds its P's and Q's with physics a lot better, and that's a good bottom line to close with. Okay, so report should be live at 0700 Central Time Wednesday. Tomorrow morning for me, today for you. So go check it out. We will be back next week with a technical deep dive. Okay. So please be good and please stay safe, and I will talk with you folks again soon. Thanks for sticking with me for an hour and a half. Bye.